cover some of the topics related to the introduction to Internet of Things or the underlying technology behind Internet of Things. So I request the participant, if you have any questions in between, please interrupt me in that particular slide so that we will discuss more before moving to other slides. So this is the agenda for this 90 minutes talk. So I'll cover about the main motivation of going for Internet of Things and one definition of Internet of Things. What makes an Internet of Things an emerging technology in 2021 or 2020 onwards, that we will see. Then there are many concepts which is there in the underlying, which these concepts are nothing but our underlying technology that is used in our Internet of Things. So before going for Internet of Things, we have to be confident about, or we have to understand these underlying technologies. That's why I'll tell you about a machine came one side, another side we have internet came, and how they are different from each other. And in IoT, what we want to achieve, whether IoT is towards the machine came or towards the internet came, right? Because in the title only you have seen it is written internet, right? And things refers to any device or any objects, okay? Or you can say that is a machine. So we'll see whether how we can move from a machine cam to the internet cam or internet cam to the machine cam in order to achieve the goal of Internet of Things. Then prior to IoT, we have a machine to machine communication. Many people treat this machine to machine communication and IoT, they are more or less same. But you can see there is a huge difference between the machine to machine communication and your Internet of Things. Then we'll see some of the characteristics of IoT. Then we'll see different design of Internet of Things. Suppose you want to build a particular product, right? So what you have to do and how to create such a product in the IoT. So you have to know that what is the physical design of IoT and what is the logical design of IoT. Similarly, here you can see IoT is not only the enabling technology in today's world, right? Like if you go for research work or any product development or industry, you can see they are integrating with a lot of technology to build a particular product or build a particular software or to do some kind of analysis, right? So IoT is going to be integrated with other technologies in order to provide an efficient solutions. That's why we have to understand what are the enabling technologies that need to be integrated with Internet of Things. One of the thing I will tell you here, like you may heard about the WSN, which is called as wireless sensor networks, and many people also having a opinion that IoT is a extension to the wireless sensor network. But we have to see what is the primary difference between a sensor network, which is there from a long back, to this new technology IoT. Then we'll see there are different levels of IoT, because it may happen that one particular level is better for a company, or you can say startup company. Another level may be best suitable for a large company. Okay, another level may be suitable for a academic, right? So we'll see what are the different IoT levels and their deployment templates. Followed by, I'll give you some of the references and conclusion. So let us start with the very first one. So if a new technology is coming into market, like nowadays you may heard about digital twin, or you may heard about digital thread, or called as Internet of Meat, okay, or you can say quantum computing, right? Okay. So what we are doing, if a new technology is there, and if we want to know about that technology, we generally search in Google, right? So here you can see in 2012, if you search in Google about IoT without specifying its full form. So I'm taking IoT and simply I opened google.com and I have typed IoT, right? Then in 2012, I'm not saying today. So if you see, these are the answers among the top results. First one is showing the illuminates of Thenoteras, right? So it is a international magical organization. You can see the short form of it is IoT. I have highlighted in red color. Similarly, you can see sometimes the results also shows that International Oceanic Travel Organization, whose short forms also IoT, because the term is not that much popular 10 years back, right? But now, if you see, this technology is much more popular. But if you consider in 2012, no one is ready to spend money on IoT. You have to see that whenever you are developing a particular product or solution, it should be cheaper, or it should be adopted by the common people, right? That's why if it is not adopted by common people, nobody is going to spend any money, okay, or any amount in that particular technology. So you can see few people spent marketing dollars on the IoT, okay, because they are not known about this particular technology in 2012. However, 2 years after 2012, that is in 2014, the most hyped buzzword in IT industry is IoT, right? You type now in Google IoT, you will get a lot of things related to Internet of Things. You will not find anything related to these two topics, right? But prior to 2014, so you got these are the top results in IoT, right? Like you can see the cloud computing. Cloud computing is also much more popular, and it is the hype word in 2008. But today, if you search some other things, is advanced areas of cloud computing may come into your search query. Now, if you see the IoT predictions, many organizations are predicting by collecting the data from various sources. So here I am showing you different statistics given by various organizations. So the idea is not to show you the big numbers, but the idea is to tell that you see the growth of this particular technology. You can see the numbers are the big numbers. Okay, they may vary based upon the survey, or the uh, based upon the collection by different organizations. So you can see the name of these companies like Bose, SI, Cisco, Gartner, okay, and international data corporations. So they have predicted something. Like one analysis says that 14 billion connected devices till the end of this year. Somebody is saying 50 billion connected devices. Somebody is saying 50 million connected devices. So each and every predictions may vary, and time will tell whether this prediction can be achieved by IoT or not. But if you see the revenue perspective, okay, market perspective, you can see there is a 309 billion dollar, right? This is bid in dollar. Okay, is the supplier's revenue in the case of IoT. Similarly, IoT is going to add 1.9 trillion, right? IoT economic value add to the organizations or the market, right? So this shows that day by day the number of devices connected to the IoT is more. Okay, by looking into this figure, you can infer that. And one of the scientists of Gartner, which is a very popular research and development firm, and the statistics given by Gartner is generally used by many companies, organizations, as well as academia, right? So Peter Middleton mentioned that by 2020, already it is done, right? The component cost today, whatever devices we are purchasing that is having sensor, let it be a refrigerator, let it be a AC, let it be a TV, right? So he mentioned that the component cost will have come down to the point that connectivity will become the standard feature. The main important part is connectivity. Like if you want to communicate to your friend, you are looking for the provider where you are getting less congestion. Sometimes whenever we are calling, we are facing some congestion issues. So connectivity is going to be the major issues in the upcoming days, because the number of devices that are connected in IoT is grown drastically, right? And you can also see that the processor cost, early days the processor cost is very high. Like if you see in the 3 or 4 decades back, the cost of the processors are very high. Now the processor cost also reduced to a very small amount. Let it be below the $1. So each and every device is having a tiny processor in that, and the processor is capable to do some kind of computation. So it shows that what are the important factors whenever you want to go for the IoT, right? The connectivity is the major problem when you increase the number of devices. Now, coming to the definition of IoT, it is a very big definition. So I have highlighted only the important part, and there is no standard definition. So many views you can represent. You based upon your view also you can define IoT, or based upon a particular application you can define what is IoT. So see here, a dynamic global network infrastructure. So in computer network, we have seen infrastructure, like in our computer lab, we have 30 computer systems. They are connected through a network. So similarly, IoT devices are also going to be connected through the infrastructure, where it is dynamic. Dynamic means any node can left at any point of time, any node can join at any particular time, right? Or you can say in the sensor perspective, sensor is having very limited battery power. So if you will not charge the sensor node, then it may die after some time, right? And it is self-configuring. If a software version is installed in a node, okay, or a thing or a device, then if a updated version is coming, it is going to be updated by that device. So nobody is going to do that for that particular device, right? Like we are visiting many restaurants and it is written self-service. So they are not going to provide you in the dining table, right? So you have to take care of everything. So in the similar case, in IoT case, it is self-configuring capability. And it is obviously, when you talk about the communication, some standard we need to build. Either we have to apply the standards that are available in computer network, and we'll see what kind of difficulties we may face when you apply the same technology in IoT. One of the thing you can say, the computer system is very powerful than a small device, right? Computer system is having processor, having storage, and amount of the speed and storage, if you see, it is quite more. But when you talk about a small device, the processor and storage is having very much limited size. That is the main challenge. So for that, you have to develop some protocols which is going to be suitable for such devices. So it may happen that the device that are connected to the IoT network, that is maybe a physical device, it may be a virtual device as well. And each and every devices is having identity. You should differ. You can also able to distinguish one device from another device. Like each and every computer system is having a MAC address, right? Or in computer, while you are communicating, you have IP address. So through that, you are distinguishing one with others. So if you have two devices, you have to ensure that you should distinguish these two devices. And note that the capability of these devices are not same. Like if I take two computer systems, then definitely these two computer systems may not be identical. One may have a good processor, another having a very low processor. And you can see we need an intelligent interface, and we have to see without interruption, it should able to communicate. It may be related to a user. Okay, user has developed a particular application, or user is working in a particular environment in which it is going to provide seamless service. That is the main definition of our Internet of Things. Now, IoT comprises of things that have unique identities. These unique identities you can give by providing unique number to each and every device, and they are connected to the internet. Okay, they are connected to the internet. And not only that, if you take existing devices, like we have smartphones, we have smartwatch, we are wearing smartwatch. In our home, we have refrigerator, we have TV. So each and every device should have a unique identity. Okay, because through unique identity only we can locate a particular device. okay, or you can reach a particular device. So you can see it may be a networked computer, as I said, in a particular layer, or it may be a mobile phone which is connected by 4G or the upcoming 5G network. Okay, so but make sure that all the devices are connected to each other. Okay, and you can see there are a lot of sensors we have, right? Lot of sensors are there, like different purpose we are using sensor. Like mobile phone, we have a fingerprint sensor. If you give your fingerprint and if it is matching with your registered fingerprint, then only you are able to view your email, WhatsApp, Facebook, and the application that are available in your device, right? Or it may be a Bluetooth handset. Through Bluetooth and handset also, you are able to communicate with different people. So it may be a pump also, right? Irrigation pump. So it will be uh, based upon some condition. It is going to decide whether to flow water or not, right? So what we want actually, we want to integrate these devices in a dynamic global network infrastructure. Okay, that is the main objective of our Internet of Things. Now, let us understand what is IoT and what are the different services provided by IoT. Here, I'll give you another definition that is called as the subnet of things. So before going for Internet of Things, you should have subnet of things. So what actually subnet of things says that? Subnet of things is restricted to a particular application, or it is consist of a particular object and how it is interacting with its environment. For example, here you can see car is a thing, because car is also having some processor, some storage, and having lot of sensors, right? And we are able to know where it is located. Okay, or you can say like you have seen the app called Where is My Train, right? In that, by giving you can GPS, or by giving your mobile network or internet, you are able to locate where is your train, right? In the similar fashion, you can see in order to track a particular device or thing or assets, we have to put sensors, right? And the sensors is going to generate the data, and these data should be sent to cloud, right? And cloud is going to give you the statistics, right? Or cloud is going to give you a visualization, right? Where it is located, how far it is from a particular place. So in the backend, you can see a person can get the details about that particular car, or get the navigation about a particular vehicle, right? That is called as our subnet of things. In the similar fashion, I can say you are able to know where is the next charging station or petrol pump, you can say, right? By searching in Google, right? So here we are talking about the stations that are registered in our with the Google Map. Okay, so whenever you search, it is going to tell you it is the nearest one. So that kind of analysis also you can do. So you can call that as a subnet of things. Or in your home, you have a lot of devices, right? And you can monitor these devices through an application. That application is installed in your smartphone. That is also called as a subnet of things. But what IoT want to do, IoT want to merge everything, right? All the devices need to be connected to each other without restricting to a particular applications. So you can see these three services, what I told you, it could be related to car, or related to the charging station, or related to the home and energy, everything can be clubbed into IoT services. So these assets are connected to the cloud or enterprise in the backend, so that we can do some kind of analysis. So we want integration of different subnet of things, like a car can provide a information to car, or a cloud service provider can share the data with another cloud service provider in order to do analysis, or a car is connected to any object. For example, you are traveling in a road, and you have seen there is an accident. So such information you can communicate to the car who is very far away from that particular place, to say that you can divert in another route. Okay. or such cars can be connected to the roadside units, that is called as RSU. These roadside units are there in just you can say one side of the road, and they are able to collect the data from various devices. Okay, the main idea is to provide the information so that other people, they are not going to face the similar kind of difficulty. Now, as I said, not only IoT plays a very important role for all type of applications, the advancement of IoTs are also dependent on other technologies. The very first one, that is called a sensor network. So I'll give a very detailed comparison of the sensor networks with IoT in the later slide. You require mobile device also. So these devices are nothing but your thing. You require wireless communication. Not only you can say that all the devices are connected through wires, so they may connected through wireless also. Then we have to know about the networkings between the different devices, how they are communicating, whether it is a point-to-point communications or multi-point communications, or if you go for mode, it may be a simplest communication. And we also require cloud technologies because the number of devices are very huge. So imagine if they are going to generate the data, okay, where you are going to store such data. Like I told you, 50 billion devices are going to be connected. Somebody may say a big statistics in the upcoming days. But if such a devices, such many these many devices are going to be connected and they are generating the data, then we have to think that where we are going to keep this data. That will make IoT a very challenging platform, right? So for which you have to see that how you can store in the cloud and how you can minimize the storage, right? Now, coming to the scope of IoT, the IoT scope is not, you can say, it is not limited just by connecting the things to the internet. Okay, it has a very wide scope. We should not say that only the device needs to be communicated with each other. So, if a device is communicating with another device, this device I can call it is a machine, right? And the other device to which it want to communicate, that is also a machine. So if they are communicating with each other, we call that is a M2M communication, not by IoT. That's why here the scope of IoT is not limited to connecting things to the internet, or these devices are connected to internet, but it requires other things also. For example, these devices should able to communicate like machine to machine communication we have seen. They should exchange the data. They should exchange some control as well as the information. So these informations or control is associated with the user and its environment. And in a broad sense, you can say it should fulfill the objective of a particular application. Okay, if you are dealing with a particular application for which IoT is contributing, so you have to see that how you are going to fulfill these objective. Okay, so these are the different things also you need to consider when you see the scope of IoT. Now, coming to the applications. Application on the IoT networks extract and create information from the lower level data. When you go for a network layer, so there is some lower layers are there is some upper layers are there. Generally, lower layers are called as hardware layers, upper layers are called as software layers. So, irrespective of the applications, you have to extract the information from the devices. So, by using IoT, you have to extract some informations, right? And you have to also create some informations. For example, you are collecting the data and you are consolidating the data, and this consolidating data or the summarizing of data, that you are communicating with others. So it has to be carried out through this particular process. You have to filter some data. You have to see that which data is important, which data is not important. You have to process the data. You can categorize the data, for which our AI ML techniques can be applied here. And you can condensing the data as well as you can contextualizing the data. Right? You can say this data is related to a particular application. This data is applicable based upon other applications. So once you are collecting this data, I'm telling you about data, not informations, right? Once you are getting this data, okay, and you have filtered or you have seen that which one is important, then the next step it is coming, that is called as information. So the information is obtained, is organized and structured to infer knowledge about the system and or its user and environment. Once you are collecting the data, you have to apply some kind of technique to get some insight about that particular data, which we called as our information. Okay, and once information is done based upon your knowledge, you can infer some meaningful things which can helpful for that particular application. Okay, now these are the complete picture. So initially you are given with the raw data, like each and every IoT devices is generating the raw data. So this data is also called as your on-process data. So in that data, you may have some missing values, sometimes the reading issues, a lot of issues may happen, right? But finally, you have to, when before applying, getting information, so you have to make the data consistent. You have to see that such issues are not there in the data. Now, information is inferred from the data by filtering, processing, categorizing, condensing, and contextualizing data, which I told you in the previous slide. Now, once it is done, once information is ready, like I will tell you, you collect the temperature of a particular location in each hour. Okay, so you can use a sensor. The sensor is generating the temperature, let's say, per minute basis. So once you get the data of a 1 hour data, then you are consolidating it. You are finding the average. That is your information. So in each and every hour, you are collecting some information, and finally you are looking that whether the temperature rises or temperature is falling. That you can decide through the knowledge. So knowledge is inferred from information by organizing and structuring information, and is put into the action to achieve a specific objective. So these specific objectives may vary with respect to different application. So let us take a small example to understand this thing. For example, one sensor has generated this particular data, that is 72, 45, 84, 56. Okay. Let's say I'll tell you also these values belongs to weather application. Okay. Or a weather monitoring station is there. That weather monitoring station has given this particular value. Now I may ask a question here. Is there any meaning or context with respect to this reading? So your answer is no. Right? Why it is no? These are simply values, right? How will know that which value is greater, which value is smaller, right? Whether it is a value of the temperature or humidity or other values, the method is not clear. So now if I say I want to add some context into this data, right? So in order to add the context, I'll say you each and every tuple. So there are two tuples here. In each and every tuple, the first value represents the temperature. So this one represents the temperature, and the second value that represents the humidity. Now I have added the context into this data. Now if I show you any number of readings, you can say the first value is my temperature sensor data, second is my humidity data, right? But these data is collected in a regular interval. For example, it is with respect to the minute, or with respect to, you can say, second, or with respect to half an hour or an hour, you can decide it. Now I'll ask you, if you are collecting the data per minute basis, I'll ask you to consolidate this data. Means I want to consolidate the data in each and every 5 minutes. So now using this data of the last 5 minutes, you will get the average temperature and humidity. Okay. So that is your information. So you are collecting the data of the 5 different tuple. Okay. Let's say each and every tuple belongs to 1 minute data. Then I am consolidating it. Right. So this consolidation is called as my information, but this is not my knowledge. Now, what is actually knowledge? Is the next step of information is our knowledge. So I can say you can generate a particular alert if the average temperature in the last 5 minutes exceed 120 °F or some Celsius. Then you have now a threshold. Once you are violating this particular threshold, a alert message will be generated. Let's say this alert message will be sent to a particular person. So it may also happen, right? I'll send this alert message to, let's say, the in the healthcare application I can say doctor, agriculture application I can say farmer, right? So that based upon this alert they will do needful actions. So that is called as our knowledge. Now, if you see the applications of IoT, there is a huge applications, like you can apply in home. Like now, these sensor-based balls are also available. So these balls you can use in your home. So whenever there is no movement in your home, then what will happen? It is automatically going to switch off that particular light. So that is called as coming under our smart lighting system. Okay. So whenever there is a person available in a particular room, we are going to switch on the light. Other cases we can go for switch of the light. Not only that, you can go for smart appliances. Nowadays, all appliances you can see they are having sensors. You can also install a smoke gas detector. Many organizations or company they have installed this smoke gas detector so that smoking and other type of leaking, like if you go for petroleum based companies, so they can detect that particular thing. In that way, IoT is going to help you. Now, government is also looking into smart cities, right? So when we say smart cities, you can decompose into smart building, smart parking, smart dustbin, right? Smart road, and a lot of things, right? So these all are coming under our cities. Similarly, you can also monitor the health of a particular building, right? The vibration level of that particular building, which we call is a structural health monitoring. So you can see that if there is some, it is exceeding a particular range, then you can say that there may be a problem related to that particular building, right? Similarly, you can go for the environment application, like weather forecasting we have, it is having a huge application, air pollution monitoring, or you can say noise pollution or forest fire detection. Generally, forest fire case, we can also go for take the help of IoT so that such cases can be detected so that damage can be reduced. Not only that, you can apply in smart grid and renewable energy based system. So it is going to tell you when to go for non-renewable energy and when to go for renewable energy. Because you know non-renewable energy like petrol, right? It is going to be over by next 20 years or something like that. So after that, what we are going to do? We are going to use the renewable energy. Like we have battery operated vehicles, right? So they are renewable energy based system. Okay, they will not be adjusted. But these renewable energies are having a lot of restrictions also. Like daytime, you have sunlight to charge the renewable energy based system like solar panel. But what about the night time? Or if you are taking wind is also a renewable energy. Then if you will consider that in a particular location, if there is no wind, then how to deal with that? So you can apply IoT over there to decide when to go for renewable energy and when to go for non-renewable energy. Similarly, retail case, whenever you go for airport or you are going for railway stations, nowadays you are seeing smart vending machines, right? What you will do, you have to insert the code, okay? Insert the rupees, which is there for a particular product, and you can select the product code, and based upon that, it is going to provide that particular product, right? If after validating the amount or after validating the code, a proper code if you have written and you have given the correct denominations, then it is going to give you that particular product. In that case also IoT plays a very important role. Similarly, logistic case, or you can go for agriculture. I have a specific session on this agriculture part. We'll discuss later that how to deal with the crop water management, how to deal with the precision agriculture, how to deal with the pest management or predators management. So that is called as a smart irrigation. So because if you see the supply and demand in the field of agriculture, there is a huge gap. The demand is quite high than the supply, and it is expected that by 2050 whatever population we will be, okay, that population is quite high and the food production is not up to that particular extent. So we have to see that how we can increase the productivity. For that, smart irrigation plays a very important role. Now coming to the next one, that is called as industry, like medical diagnosis and prognosis case also you can apply IoT. Like nowadays also various apps are there. I'll name one app that is called as Cardia app. You can go to your smartphone and search in your Play Store about the Cardia app. So this is a particular application which is based upon IoT, AI, and ML. And once you are a member of this particular app, and you once you purchase the electrodes, they are giving once you register and paying the requisite amount. So by using these two electrode, you can check the status of your heart, right? You can monitor the heart whether your rhythm is normal, heart rhythm is normal or it is abnormal, right? You don't require any patch cord which is required for ECG. You don't require any gel which is used for ECG, right? Through this two electrode and this application, you can monitor your health, and you can also, if required, you can take doctor's assistance. So in that case, IoT plays a very important role. Similarly, nowadays we are having some band we are using, right? Smartwatches, right? Bands, some wearable devices. They are able to tell the different parameters, okay, about a particular person, right? Like when you go for the livestock monitoring, you want to monitor the health of the animals that is related to the agriculture field. There also you can use lot of sensor to check whether your animals are having good health or not, right? In that case also IoT plays a very important role. Now, as I said, as we are talking about the things, right? Internet of things, right? So it is nothing but each and every device is a machine, whether the machine may be connected to the internet or it may not be connected to the internet, right? Like one device is there, it is not able to connect to the internet because you don't have any such options, right? Like if you see old days phones, we don't have any internet facility in that. We have mobile towers, okay? We don't have any data in that. But today's phones, we have data. So here you can see I'm giving you two picture. One is called as machine cam, another is called as internet cam. So machine cam refers to the devices. I'm not saying whether these devices having internet connection or not. Similarly, on the other hand, we have a lot of application where internet plays a very important role. Like we are browsing the anything in internet, right? Okay, through some devices, or you can say a lighting system that is controlled by lighting system of a particular building is uh, the lighting system is connected to a server. Through these servers you can able to see the lighting system of a particular building. So that is your internet cam. So our idea in the IoT is to not only go for machine cam or internet cam, so find a bridge between these two, right? So that both objectives we can fulfill. Like you can see in the machine cam, it focuses on the brown field. Brown field is generally called as non-renewable energy. And when you go for the internet cam, it is green field that is using your renewable energy. Similarly, you can see the standards used in the machine camp and internet camp is different, and the way you can deal with a particular domain is also different. For example, machine camp deals with the domains like physics, engineering, whereas internet camp deals with the IT and services. So what actually we read, we need to move from the machine camp to the internet camp. So here you can see the picture shows that I am moving from machine camp to internet camp. How we can do? So let us consider a particular device that is T. So here I am considering the light bulb is my T. That is nothing but thing. So in order to make the light bulb intelligent, what you have to do? You have to inject a sensor into that particular ball. Like I told you, there is a ball with sensors. So this ball with sensor will help you to check that whether any movement in that particular room or not. If not, it is going to switch off that particular light, even if the main switch is on. Okay, so it is not glowing, right? So if I add this light bulb with sensors, now I want to add some intelligence in this light, which I call as TI. Okay, you bring a particular device, add some sensor to this particular device, we call that as a intelligent things because it can take some intelligent decision. Now there are a lot of balls in our home, or lot of balls are there in a particular building. I want to monitor this thing through a particular application. Okay, so how you are going to monitor? For that you require internet. So when you require internet to see this thing, it is treated as a service. So I can say it is nothing but if you install a particular application through which you can monitor, that is like iPhone app, or you can go for the smartphone app. So I can say TI is now added with the S, where S is nothing but a service. That is nothing but our internet service. Through internet, we are able to see the patterns of that particular device or the lighting pattern of a particular building. So what we did, we moved from machine camp towards the internet camp. So we can say machine camp moves toward the service world. IoT is providing a lot of service, right? So we are moving towards the service world. On the other hand, if you see, if you go for an online security service, like any building you go, there is a CCTV camera. These CCTV cameras are monitored by our security people, or many organizations also, they are following the similar thing. Now, in that case, what? They have the internet service. That is nothing but our S. What we need? We need to add some intelligent things into that particular service, which is nothing but our light bulb with sensor. That is nothing but TI. So whether it is TI plus S or S plus TI, both are same. The only concept is that machine camp is moved towards the service world, or the internet camp is moves towards the physical world, where the devices are there with or without internet, right? Now coming to enterprise IoT. Nowadays also people are saying IoT with industrial IoT, or you may heard about industry 4.0 or 4.0, people refer it. So industry 4.0 or 0, it promotes the use of IoT concept in the field of manufacturing. Like smart manufacturing, you heard, right? Many industries, they are want to increase their productivity. How they are going to do? For that, they need some automation, where digital thread, this digital twin, which is also some of the research areas. These areas are belongs to our IoT. Okay, and these areas also going to contribute to increase the productivity. So here you can see, prior to industry 4.0, we have industry 1.0, industry 2.0, industry 3.0, where earlier if you see, industries are dependent on the water power. So the production purely depends upon the water power. So if there is a scarcity of water, then it impacts the productivity. But later, in order to avoid that, they have used the electrical power. Again, you can say electric power is generated by these water power, or can be generated by coal, or you can say gas, or other things, right? So industry 2.0, we focuses on the electric power. But when you go for industry 3.0, we focuses on the digital world. Like if you see the Moore's law says that the device, how the devices are going to be changed in each and every 18 to 24 months of time, right? So that is due to the emerging of the VLSI technology, very large scale integration technology. So we move to digital world in industry 3.0, but now we are talking about industry 4.0, in which we're moving from digital world to the smart world. So the smart world is possible because of the underlying technologies like machine learning, AI, IoT, big data, smart manufacturing, cloud technologies. A lot of technologies need to be integrated in order to make the vision of Industry 4.0 successful. Now coming to a very important comparison. Like I told you, when a device is communicated with each other, like in network also you have seen, when a network is going to communicate with another network, we'll see what is the protocol used in this particular network A, and what is the protocol is used in the network B. Sometimes some interconnection devices like router, gateway, or you can say switch off. Okay, these devices are not intelligent enough if two different networks are following different protocol. Like for example, if they are using the same protocol, you can use a router to connect. But when they are using different network, you are using gateway, because gateway is an intelligent device, right? Similarly, here you can see M2M is not same as IoT. I have given a complete comparison here that how M2M is different from IoT. So I'll go for the some of the differences. So you can see through M2M, you have very fixed solutions. Why fixed solutions? Because you know what is the growth, and your growth is, you can say, whatever you have predicted, that is nothing but the actual growth. So if you can do that, then you can go for a fixed solution. But when you are not sure about the growth, how many devices are going to be connected, we are not sure. We are giving some prediction, and the actual may drastically value from the prediction. Like prior to COVID-19, we are not using our devices like laptop, desktop very frequently. But due to this COVID platform, we are attending the lectures through online, or we are taking the lectures online, we are attending various programs, right? So drastically the use of these devices is increased. So sometimes we need to purchase also devices. Nowadays we are dealing with 2 or 3 devices. Every person, with respect to each and every persons, we are having more than 2 devices, right? So here the growth is not predictable. So this is the major difference between the IoT and M2M. Similarly, IoT is based on your distributed framework, right? You cannot say that all the devices are in a particular location. They may be in any locations, right? So they one device want to communicate from another device. Not necessarily they are belongs to the same country or same continent, right? They may belongs to different also. And the data generated by machine-to-machine communication is more or less structured data. The structured data is nothing but whatever data you are entering in a Microsoft Excel file, right? If you click in a particular box, then you will see what is the equivalent row and column, right? And you can infer that particular data, and you can do a lot of computations. But when you go for IoT, the data is completely semi-structured or unstructured as well. Even if it is semi-structured, it is possible to do some kind of analysis, like you may aware of HTML files, XML files. So more or less, these files are having some kind of similarity. Okay, but when you go for unstructured data, all the data generated by these devices are completely different. So integration of the data is very much important. Like create that content into a single word file, right? So such issues also we will face when you go for IoT, right? And the ownership of the data is very, very clear in the case of machine-to-machine communication, but it is completely not clear in the case of IoT. So what actually we are going to do, this is the roadmap of IoT. So earlier we have Internet of Things. So Internet of Things uses your machine-to-machine solutions, and they are applicable to the standalone devices. Standalone devices means the device don't want to connect it to any other devices, like we have our personal computers. It is only for our personal purpose. We don't want to give that computer to others. In that case, in that manner, you can say it is a standalone devices. So gradually we move from Internet of Things to the Subnet of Things. What we are doing in Subnet of Things, we have machine-to-machine solutions as devices or proposition within a functional solutions. So we are able to find through a Subnet of Things how the devices are going to be connected. They need not be the standalone devices, or standalone devices can communicate with each other, right? And they can find a particular solution. Similarly, industry, enterprise, community, they are also using these solutions for their applications. That is also a subnet of things. But when you talk about IoT, IoT is based on the applications and solutions that can seamlessly share data. So there should not be any barrier whenever a device want to communicate with other. So the main focus of this enterprise of IoT, how we are going to integrate machine-to-machine communication with the subnet of things, or a set of subnet of things, as I said earlier, right? Now coming to the next one, that is characteristics of IoT. As I told you in some definition, IoT is having a self-adapting structure, or IoT is having self-configuring in nature, right? Like if you see the very first characteristics, it is completely dynamic network. Okay, so if you take an example of a surveillance system, right? Like we have CCTV camera installed in a particular building, right? And through this CCTV camera, we are able to find if a person is moving in that particular you can say if it is coming under that particular range, then you can see in that range how many peoples are there, or whether a person is usual in that location or they are not usual. So based upon that, what you can do, you can increase the resolution, right? So you know that in the CCTV, if you take the complete picture, it is having low resolution. But once an object is identified, you can change it to a higher resolution to detect that particular person, right? So that is one of the characteristics of IoT. Similarly, sense configuration is there. We can update if there is any versions are there, right? If a new version is updated, so these devices have the ability to configure themselves, okay, set up the networking or face the latest software upgrades within the minimal manual or user interventions, right? Similarly, we have interoperable communication protocols. So here the devices may support a number of protocols which is there in the computer network. Also the same protocols also we can apply into IoT subjected to a particular applications. Now each and every device is having a unique identity, like we have IP address, we have uniform resource identifier. So whenever you search for a particular resource, so server is going to locate that resource to you. That is called as URI. Or through URL, you are accessing a particular website, or if you need a particular resources, the resource is you can say located through this URI. Similarly, integrated with the information network. So here we are integrated into the information network that allows us, right, to communicate and exchange the data and other devices with other devices or your systems. So these are the basic characteristics. Now coming to the design part of IoT. Suppose you want to design, so you should understand what is the physical design of IoT and what is the logical design. So these are the blocks that you need to consider. First one is called as connectivity. Like the devices, whatever we are using like mouse, keyboard, how they are connected to our system. So they are connected through USB cables, right? Or you can say in network we are using the RJ45 or Ethernet through which you can connect one device to another device, right? Or you can say if you go for a Arduino kit or a Raspberry Pi kit, you want to connect. How you are going to connect? Through any particular interface only you can do it, right? So that is the connectivity part. Now, each and every device is having some processor. It may not be a capable processor for each and every device, but we have processor of you can say very small size, right? It is capable to do a small task only. You cannot go for a very large task. Similarly, we have audio video interfaces also. Like we are connecting to a projector, right? In the projector, we can use these HDMI cables, right? Or you can go for RCA video cable or 3.55 audio. So these are the interfaces through which you can connect. Now you have memory interfaces also. We have NAND or NOR interface, or we have DDR. Okay, so you can say this DDR stands for your double data rate 1 or double data rate 2, double data rate 3, through which the memory can be interfaced. We may also require graphics, right? Nowadays also systems are enabled with the graphics, especially for gaming applications. We are using graphics, so that is going to provided by GPUs. Similarly, we have the standard interfaces to keep the data in our mobile phone. We have SD card, right? This SD card, through this SD card, you can store the data. Okay. We have MMC also. We have SDIO also. That is called as your serial digital input output. Now, similarly, we have IO interfaces also. The input output informations, you may give a sensor, like you can connect a soil moisture sensor with your kit, right, to monitor the moisture level, right? Or you may add a actuator into your kit, right? Like actuator, you can say, I want to add a motor into my device. So the motor is going to be switched on when there is a moisture level is below, and it is going to be switched off when the moisture level is high. So these are the different internal blocks of the physical design. So for this IO interface, you can go for the universal asynchronous receiver transmitter, or you can go for SPI, or you can go for I2C or CN, that is control area network. Now, for example, you have a relay switch. This relay switch is nothing but like we have a switch in our switchboard, right? Through this relay switch, what you can do, you can turn off or turn on a particular appliances. So these relay switches are used with our IoT devices. You can decide that when to switch off or when to switch on, right? So you can execute a particular command by putting a particular threshold. If it is exceeding that, it is going to change its mode from one mode to another mode. Similarly, if you consider a garden applications, so you have designed a IoT based system in which if the soil moisture level is less, then automatically the water is going to be flowed in that particular garden, right? And once it is exceeded, you are going to stop the water. So this for optimal watering schedules, this IoT is going to the IoT system is going to help you. Now coming to the protocols that is coming under, because when you go for physical design, you require protocols, right? Like network layer, you know, we have a lot of protocols starting from physical layer, you can say data link layer, network layer, transport layer, session layer, presentation layer, application layer. We have 7 layers. Or when we are talking about TCP IP layer, we have 4 or 5 layers, right? Similarly, in IoT protocol stack, we have 4 layers. One is application layer, another is transport layer, network layer, and link layer. So as you can see, more or less the similarity you can find with the OSI ISO reference model. So application layers, these layers are the software layers, whereas the link layer, they are the hardware layers. So now in the link layer, you can see a lot of technologies we can use, like we can go for 802.3 Ethernet. Okay, again, Ethernet is having also so many types. Like you can go for 10 base 5, you can go for 10 base T, you can go for 10 base F, and so on. And with respect to these Ethernets also, you can see these values are going to vary. Their speed is also going to vary. So let us see more details about this. Yes, this you can say that a 10 base 5 is used for coaxial cable, and 10 base T is used for twisted pair, 10 base F is used for fiber optic, and you can see the data rate is 10 megabits per second to 40 gigabits per second, right? And the objective is to send the data from one device to another device. So your link layer, so your bottom layer is link layer. Your link layer is going to connect to the network's physical layer, because when you connect to two different devices, in between that you have network, and the network is having, let's say TCP IP case, we have 5 layers, or you can say OSI case 7 layers. So you have to send your data to your network's physical layer, right? In that way, the data is going to be flow in a transmission medium. Now coming to the 802.11, it also we can use, that is Wi-Fi. That nowadays also, whenever we are going for any restaurant or airport or any public places, we are using Wi-Fi. But you can see the data rate is quite less in comparison to the Ethernet. This is the only difference. And there are different versions are also there, like 802.11a you can use, which operates in 5 gigahertz band. Similarly, you can see 802.11b, 11n, 11ac, and 11ad, and their band is different. Like 802.3, 802.11, we have 802.16, that is called as WiMAX. So many people are using WiMAX in their connection in their home to connect to the internet also, which we call as wireless broadband net standard. Similarly, you can go for LRWPN, that is called as a low rate wireless personal area network, like one of the very important protocol used in the IoT, that is called as Zigbee. So it is a very high level communication protocol, which is under this IEEE 802.15.4 standard. Similarly, you can go for wireless communications as well, like 2G communication, 4G communication, 3G communication, or upcoming the 5G communications, right? And these underlying technologies of 2G, 3G, 5, 4G you can find here, like GSM, CDMA. We are nowadays using VoLT, right? That is long-term evaluations, right? Long-term evolutions. And early days in the 3G, we are using this CDMA 2000 or UMTS. So these are the different techniques behind our mobile communication. Now coming to the next layer, that is called as network or internet layer. In the network layer, our overall objective is to send data, right? Generally, this data is we called here is a datagram to send it from a source network to your destination network. And this layer is also responsible for host addressing, because the number of devices that are going to be connected is also very huge. So host addressing or logical addressing, physical addressing becomes a very challenging problem. Now you can see you can also use packet routing. Routing is providing a path from a source devices to the destination device. Similarly, here you can go for IPv4 or IPv6, and IPv4 is your 32-bit address. Okay, and if 32-bit address is there, you know we can generate 2 to the power 32 number of addresses. Although this number is looking a very big, but the addresses in IP4 is adjusted, okay, by in 2011. Already it was adjusted. So we are moving from IPv4 to IPv6, in which we have 128-bit address, and we can generate 2 to the power 128, which is a very big number, that is 3.4 into 10 to the power 38 addresses. But the way the devices are going to be going to add into our IoT network, you can see maybe after a couple of decades, IPv6 IP is also going to be adjusted. So in order to make IPv6 over low power wireless personal area network, we have 6LO WPAN, right? So it brings the IP protocol to your lower power devices. In the lower power devices, you have very limited processing capability. You don't have much storage as well, right? So you have to see that how you are going to process your data in that particular devices. And if you see the operating frequency, that is nothing but 2.4 gigahertz, and the speed you can see 250 kilobits per second. Coming to the next layer, we have transport layer in the IoT. This transport layer is providing you with the end-to-end message transfer from one devices to another device. And there is a lot of responsibility with the transport layer, because the responsibility, whatever we have seen in the data link layer, sometimes it is overlapped with the transport layer, like error control, flow control. Flow control will tell the sender, and if there is a mismatch between the speed of the sender and receiver, then flow control is going to adjust it, right? And similarly, if a channel is used by multiple devices, right, then you have to see that there should not be any kind of congestions. And the two popular protocols we are also using in IoT, that is called as TCP. So TCP is very much reliable. It is a connection-oriented protocol, and it is also a stateful protocol. Suppose you are establishing multiple connections among two different devices. Such connections can be monitored, right? Or such connections having connections can be identified by TCP. But when you establish multiple sessions, okay, it is not possible to identify by UDP. That's why you can see UDP is a stateless protocol. In TCP case, you can use the HTTP or the secure HTTP for better communication between the two different devices. But UDP is very much important when you want to transfer the data in a time critical applications, or you can say you want to urgently send some data. In that case, you can go for a UDP, in which the acknowledgement we are not that much not required, right? But if you need acknowledgement, you have to go for the TCP. Similarly, here you can see in order to connect that, we are using various commands, right? Like get command, put commands, post, delete, head, trace, and options. These are available with HTTP. So these are used to connect between two different devices. Let it be between the client to server, or it may be between two different devices. So here it is focusing on the request response model. Request response model is generally used in the client server architecture, in which client is initiating a request and server is going to provide that reply, right, or provide that resources to the client. In addition to this existing protocols, that whatever you have seen, that is HTTP, okay, or in the transport layer you are using UDP and TCP, we have a very important protocol here that is called as constant application protocol. Because there may be your environment may contain some constraint, your device also having some constraint, like low power device is having limited processing power. Okay, for that we have COAP. Okay, so it is a application layer protocol. It is popularly used in the machine-to-machine applications. So like HTTP, the COAP also uses your request to response model and supports some of the commands that are supported by your HTTP. Similarly, there are lot many protocols are there. Like WebSocket is another popular protocol, right? That is used in the application layer. So it supports your full duplex communication over a single socket. So in a single socket, the sender can send the data to the receiver, and the receiver can also send to the data to the sender. Similarly, the very popular protocol that is called as MQTT. You will learn MQTT in the upcoming lectures as well. So it is a very lightweight messaging protocol which is based upon the PubSub model, or also called as the publisher and subscriber model. So like if you go to YouTube, right? In YouTube, you can see there are a lot of channels are there. Suppose you are interested in some channel. So what you are doing, basically you are subscribing to that particular channel. So whenever there is a new thing is posted by your publisher, you are going to get a notification. So that is an example of our publish and subscribe model. So here the client is basically connected to the server. You can consider the client as your IoT devices and server is nothing but your MQTT broker. Similarly, we have extensive message and presence protocol that is called as XMPP, which uses your XML data, and it is generally used for the real-time communication. Like you want to chat with your friend, or you want to make a voice call or video calls, you can see in that case you are not getting any kind of hindrance. Okay, for that this particular protocol is used. Similarly, we have other protocols like AMQP is used for business messaging. Okay, this protocol is used for business processing. It is also based upon the publisher and subscriber model. And you can see, like in MQTT protocol, you have MQTT broker. So in AMQP, we have AMQP broker, okay, which is receiving the message from the publisher and route this to the consumer or the subscriber. We have also the DDS, that is data distribution service. It is very famous for the quality of service. So if you have any restrictions on the reliability, availability, or the way of communication you require, so that is called your quality of service. And nowadays we are saying quality of experience. Like whenever you are traveling, you are watching a movie in YouTube, or you are playing a music in YouTube. So you want there should not be any kind of interruption. That is called as your you can say that is quality of experience. So that can be provided by this particular protocol. Now coming to the logical design. In the logical domain design, you can see we are going for the abstract representation of the entities and processes without going to this lower level specifications of the implementations. So this is the complete picture. You can see we have applications in the bottom, we have device, again hardware in the bottom, and software in the top. And in between, we have a middleware in which we have management, we have services, communication, and security. Now there are various type of models are there in the logical design. The first one is called request response model. So it is a stateless model. Stateless means the number of connections you have established, it is not going to be keep track, right? Like UDP case I told you, it is a completely connection stateless. But when you go for UDP, what about the connections you have built that can be seen, right? That can be recorded, right? Like here you can see client has initiated a particular request and server is checking the resources through this URI, that is uniform resource identifier, and it is going to respond to this particular client. That is called as your request response model. Coming to the publish subscribe model. So here it is little bit different from your request response, because you may be interested in a particular YouTube channel, I may be interested in a different channel, right? So whenever the publisher is posting a particular topic, okay, the message is going to be circulated to the people who subscribe it. For example, you can say consumer 1 and consumer 2, they have subscribed to the topic 1. However, consumer 3 has subscribed to topic 2. So if anything is published by the publisher, okay, by this, you can say by publisher through this topic 1, then it is going to be informed to consumer 1 and 2. But when it is going to post a topic 2, then we are going for consumer 3. right? We are going to inform to consumer 3 because it is interested in the topic 2. So you can see based upon that some connections are there. And in real life, we have n number of consumers where n is a very large number. You can go for push and pull model. The disadvantage of the previous model is that when the client want to establish connections with server, especially in the request response model, so client has to wait until unless it is going to get a reply from the server. So in order to avoid that, we are using push pull model. So we are having queues here, right? So between the publisher consumer, or you can say the requester and response, we are using a queue. So whenever you are sending a particular message, that message is queued here, and it is going to deliver to the consumer. So you can see the consumer and publisher, they may not be in the online once they are publishing a message or once they are subscribing to a particular message. So they need not be in the online, right? So here message is pushed in the queue and message is pulled in the from the queue whenever they are online. So they did not be online at the same time. The next model you can see here, that is called as exclusive pair, in which we are requesting for the connection, we are getting response from the server. Again, we are sending the message to the client and server, and the server is also acknowledging to that particular message. And once this conversation is done, like handshaking protocol, whatever we have seen in computer network, we have to send a close request, and the server has to reply to that particular close request. Now, coming to some of the APIs, like we are using a lot of applications, right? And there is application programming interface. So in order to interface that, we are using one REST-based API. It is also used in our service-oriented architecture. If you heard about SOA, they are also using the simple object access protocol for messaging purpose, but REST is used over there. Like here you can see HTTP client want to subscribe something, okay, or making a particular request to the HTTP server. So it has to send a particular packet. The packet may consist of some of the commands like get, put, post, and delete as per the requirement. So based upon that, HTTP server is going to provide the resources. As I said, the resources is identified by this URI. Resource discovery is possible with this URI, or sometimes we are using UDDI for locating a particular resource. So in this way, they are going to be communicate each other. This is the complete connections. We are making a request, we are getting a response. Then again, we are making a request and response, and this conversation is going to be done until unless the request of the clients is going to be solved by the server. Now, coming to some of the enabling techniques, I want to say there are a lot of technologies that is also need to be communicated with IoT, like wireless sensor network, cloud computing, big data analytics, communication protocol, and embedded system. So, as I said, I will tell you the difference between the wireless sensor and IoT. So here you can see the find the difference, right? So when you go for wireless sensor network, right? Wireless sensor networks also, we have several sensor nodes, and we can treat these sensor nodes as a things, right? And they are communicating with each other. So like a lot of applications also we have seen in the wireless sensor network, like weather forecasting, or you can say indoor air quality management, soil moisture monitor, surveillance system, smart grid, or in the monitoring the vibration levels of the building or bridges. You have structural health monitoring, where wireless sensor network plays a very important role. And in fact, for these applications also, wireless sensor network need to be worked with IoT technology in order to fulfill the objective. So this is the difference you can see. In IoT case, all the devices, not only the sensors, all the devices that is directly send their information through internet. But when you go for wireless sensor network, there is no direct communication to the internet. Basically, I can say you cannot directly connect it to the base station, because base station may not be in the range of base station may not be in the range of your sensor nodes, right? So a typical scenario I will show you in the upcoming slides. So I can say here the WSN is a subset of the IoT. So here you can see I have deployed a lot of sensor nodes in a particular environment in which these black dots represent the sensor nodes. So each and every sensor node is having a particular range, right? Suppose this is the range of the sensor nodes, okay? So you can see the sink or the base station is here, right? So this node is not in the range of sink. So we have to find a path, okay, you can say that, let's say this particular sensor node is having in the range of another sensor node. So what I can do, let's say like this. So it has to communicate with this one. Let's say this sensor node is communicated with this one. Again, this one to this one. Like that, you have to connect to the sink in order to send the data to the base station or sink. But IoT case, it is not true. Similarly, if you see a sensor node case, you can see a detailed picture that each and every sensor node is having a very limited power. Okay, so we have a power in it. Sensor nodes is having a processing power like our computer or laptop or desktop. You can say it is having a storage unit. It is also having a GPS through which you can find the location of that particular device. And this is an example of a sensor node, right? It is treated as a sensor node. You can see we are also supplying the power, and a lot of sensors are also embedded with a sensor. Like you can see a temperature sensor or light sensor is attached here in the board. Like whenever you purchase Arduino or Raspberry Pi, also you can see some of the sensors are also available. Otherwise, you have to again interface these sensors with your it. This is another way how we are going to communicate, like the sensors, they cannot communicate directly to another sensor nodes. So they are forming different types of cluster and making one sensor node as their leader, and the leader has to communicate with other leaders, and gradually it is going to reach to the base stations. This is another scenario you can see in which the range of a particular head, okay, or you can say the gateway is overlapping with the range of another gateway. So you have to ensure that the nodes that are in between two different network, okay, so it should be mapped to only one device, okay, only one gateway, either to this gateway or you can say to this gateway, not to both gateway, because the power of these sensor nodes are very less, right? So you have to see that within this minimum battery power, okay, or you can say low power battery, how you can get the information about the particular environment, and not necessarily this environment is a attended environment. Sometimes we are deploying the sensors in a unattended environment. So this is another scenario in which I have replaced this cluster head with the gateway. So it is a gateway based wireless sensor nodes. Now you can see cloud computing also provide a lot of services like infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. You can subscribe to any service. Like I told you, storage is coming under our infrastructure. Or if you need computations, you can go for infrastructure as a service, and you can use this service and pay as for your use. Right? You should not pay like you are paying to a physical infrastructure, as it is a virtual infrastructure, and these devices are not owned by you. So based upon your usage, you are going to pay for your service. Similarly, big data analytics plays a very important role. It has many V's. I'll focus only volume, variety, and velocity. You know that day by day the data is increasing. That day by day the speed of each and every you can say device is also increasing, and the type of data with each and every device, that is also rapidly increasing. Okay, so we have to see that whatever data is collected by IoT devices, how we can analyze that particular data in let's say in the end user analytics, or you can say the analytics by some specialist. So for that way, big data plays a very important role. We also require embedded system. In embedded system is just like our computer only. It is comprises of computer and hardware, but it is targeting to a particular applications. Okay, like if you go for industry, you can see they are having many embedded system, but they are not for a general purpose, right? They are having a for a particular specific task. It is not possible to execute all type of task with that embedded system. So it has a lot of components like our computer system, microprocessor, memory, networking, IO units, as well as storage units. And generally in the embedded system, we are using the real-time operating system. Now coming to the next part, that is called as IoT levels. So here I'll show you there are 6 different levels of IoT. And starting from level 1 to level 6, you will see the computational capacity or storage or responsibility of the IoT devices, how they are differing with each other. Like here you can see one side we have taken local, another side we have taken cloud. So Let us consider there is a single node is there. Okay, this is a single node, and this node is used for everything, sensing or any kind of actions like whatever it is taken by actuators. The same thing is done by this single node. So as there is a single node, its solution is also very less, right? It cannot execute very large applications, right? And you can say the data is also not big. So you can say here in the home automation is an example of your IoT level 1. So in which you can control the lights, appliances through relay switches by switch on and switch off the devices, right? And you can see here whatever we have discussed, that is REST-based connections or web socket-based communication is used in the IoT level 1. So this is the details, you can go through it. Coming to IoT level 2, here you can see the responsibility what is there in the local node is now divided into two parts. One is local part, another is cloud part. You can see there is something available with cloud. So here you can see there is a single node. Okay, this node is also for sensing and actuation, but the data is stored in the cloud. But in the previous case, you can see the data is stored in the data is not stored in the cloud. Okay, data is stored in that particular device only, right? In the similar fashion, you can see here that we cannot do a large type of application by the help of IoT. Like if you go for smart irrigation, like I told you, gardening, right? You want to spray water when there is a moisture level is low. In that case, you can go for IoT level 2, in which we are using this again the same REST or web socket based communication, and you can monitor through a application which is hosted by cloud. Now the next one, you can see here IoT level 3. Here also we have a single node, right? And we are keeping everything in the cloud only. We have single node, and but it is having a more excessive power than IoT level 2. So you can run a computationally intensive task in this level, right? For example, if you want to go for tracking package handling, like many smart manufacturing industries, they want packaging, right? So if you want to know the vibration level, or if you want to know uh, the details about the vibrations, right? You can go for accelerometer or gyroscope sensors through which you can find the vibration level. So that can be possible this IoT level 3. So if you compare with the IoT level 2, so you will see that this node is not used for analysis, right? This analysis is done by the cloud. This is the only difference between uh, IoT level 2 and IoT level 3. Now coming to the next level, IoT level 4, now we are giving more flexibility here. You can see instead of a single node, here we have multiple nodes, but these nodes are used for analysis. But storing purpose, we are using data. And you can see also here in the cloud side, we have an observer node. The responsibility of this observer node is to process the information, but it do not have any controlling facility, right? But it can process the informations, right? And this IoT level is also possible for computationally intensive applications. For example, if you see noise monitoring, in which you want to know, you want to deploy multiple nodes in different locations in order to check the noise, right? Or you can use the sound sensor for it, right? So such applications are coming under our IoT level 4. Now coming to level 5, in the level 5, you have much more flexibility. Here we have a coordinator node. You can see these nodes are now connected to a coordinator node, and the coordinator node is connected to the cloud. And analysis is done by cloud, not by the individual nodes. And the responsibility you can see of the coordinator node is to collect the data from various nodes and send the data to the cloud for storage purpose. It is also possible for this IoT level to do computationally intensive tasks. And you can see forest fire detection, in which we are monitoring temperature, humidity, carbon dioxide level. That type of problem can be solved in IoT level 5. Coming to IoT level 6, here we have multiple independent devices. In the previous case, they may be independent to each other. So instead of there is a coordinating node, we have here a centralized controller. So the difference is that in the previous case, it is dealing with the data, but here we can deal with the control informations as well. Okay. So weather forecasting is a typical application of this IoT level. Now here you can see a lot of sensors we have. These sensors you will see if some practical sessions are there in which the research persons are going to use such sensors, starting from this smoke sensor, ultrasonic sensor. I told you about the vibration. Okay, I told you about the sound sensor, temperature, humidity sensor, right? Soil moisture sensor. These sensors you can use. Then there are some other pictures about the sensors you can see in which we have also other thing like rain sensor, accelerometer, PID or PIR sensor. This is basically used for the movement, detecting the movement in a particular room. Okay, and similarly, we have a lot of actuators as well, right? Like a motor is an actuator. These are not the actuator. Motors are the actuators. So these are connected to the sensors, and based upon the reading of the sensor, uh, we are going to take an appropriate actions. And we are also using some of the microcontrollers. You can see the very famous microcontroller we know in 8051 microcontroller. And there are some pictures of the microcontroller you can find in this from this particular slide. Okay, so this is the conclusion here. So we have discussed about in briefly some of the motivations related to IoT. I told you about the data, information, knowledge, and the flow of data to the knowledge. And we have differentiated between the machine camp and internet camp and how a IoT is going to provide services from machine camp to the internet camp and how it is moving from machine camp to internet camp or internet camp to the machine camp. We have seen the differences between the machine to machine communication and IoT. We have also seen the different characteristics of IoT and physical design and logical design, in which we have seen different protocols, enabling technologies, APIs that are used in IoT. And I also told you 6 different levels and what kind of applications that can be possible with these IoT levels. So what we can conclude here, IoT is not a luxury now, right? It is no longer a luxury now. It is a very necessity for any kind of applications. Like Government of India also launched a lot of applications for which IoT-based solutions provide a better solution in comparison to the traditional solutions. So these are the references. You can go through it. Thank you, everyone. If you have any questions, I will free to you can feel free to contact me as well as communicate with me. Okay, now also you can communicate. If you have any questions, I'll try to address your questions.
We are so honored to have you as our speaker, sir. So thank you so much. I extend a really heartily thanks to our speaker who spared time from his busiest schedule for this session. Today, we had an opportunity to hear your thoughts, and this will surely be going to encourage us in our future. Thank you, sir. All participants are requested to kindly switch on your camera so that we can take a screenshot. Our, our next session will start at 3:30 p.m. sharp, and the speaker for the next session is Dr. Venkanna Yu from IIIT Naya Raipur, and the topic of the next session is communication protocol in IoT. All participants are requested to join 10 to 15 minutes before. Thank you. Thank you all.
Is there any question? If anybody you want to ask any question, so you please feel free to ask. Okay, I'll share my slide with Siddharth sir. Okay, if you have any questions later point of time, in slide my number as well as my email ID is there. So I request you if you want to further communicate, you can communicate through that. So thank you everyone for your patience listening in the last 90 minutes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam. May I leave, madam?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You
Yeah,
may leave.
okay. Okay, thank you.
All participants are requested to please switch on your camera. Please.
हो गया होगा कैमरा?